Welcome to another Straight Up Tuesday tip. I'm 𝗤𝘃𝗀𝗀𝘀. With me, as always, is Mark Ainley. And with us, probably approaching five-time champ over here, Jonathan Klemm from Quality Builders. Jonathan, welcome back.
What's up, Mark? What's up, Tom? Appreciate you guys having me back on the show and happy to add some value in a Tuesday tip here.
All right, we're excited to have you, and this is going to be a very relevant topic for a lot of buyers out there. It's super competitive. You need to make quick decisions. Things are going to best and final 2 to 3 days after they're listed. And we've had a couple of our listeners call in saying, I'm having trouble with rehab. Should I be bringing a GC with me to my walkthroughs? And that's not going to, GCs aren't just going to walk every single property with you, right? Like that's not, and your agent's probably able, some agents are probably very good at helping you and some are not. Regardless, so you should have a basic understanding of rehab costs. So we're going to talk about some basic rules of thumb here that our listeners can use so they can have a better understanding of just the ballpark of what the rehab might be. So with that, talk to us like what you guys do at Quality Builders. You kind of break things up into different buckets. Let's start there.
Yeah, so we kind of separate things in 3 separate buckets, typically, Tom. We break it up into the unit turn, which is kind of just the paint, the locks, the doors, any kind of like repairs to light fixtures, kind of just a general check of the entire unit to make sure it's rentable again. The second bucket is the cosmetic renovation, which basically includes everything in front of the walls. So think full kitchen, full bath, flooring, paint, fixtures, devices, those types of things. And then the last bucket is the full renovation, which includes everything in front of the walls and everything behind the walls, including the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing.
Yep. Makes sense to me. So do you mind sharing just some high level rules of thumb? And again, everything's very specific. Nothing ever fits perfectly in a box, but just some guidance that our listeners who haven't gone through a renovation before, some pricing guidance that they can use as a starting point.
Yeah, most definitely. So we typically like to just break things down as much as possible. We add everything that's broken down, and we typically get a rough square footage price. So for a unit turn, usually we're in the range of $7 to $18 a square foot. So if you're thinking 1,000 square foot apartment and you're just painting it, doing some small repairs, you might be anywhere from $7,000 to $18,000.
Got it. So this is patching the walls, painting, maybe painting the entire wall if needed, light fixtures, just the normal changing locks, just the very basic stuff that would happen on a turn.
Yeah, exactly. Just getting it rent ready so you can get another tenant in there as fast as possible. On the cosmetic renovation, that's when you're looking to add some ROI, right? You want to fix up the kitchens, fix up the baths, add some nice flooring, add paint, repair the doors, repair the locks, and get it really maximizing your rent value there. And so typically when you're doing everything in front of the walls, you can think somewhere between the $40 to $60 a square foot range for a complete cosmetic renovation for a 1,000 square foot apartment.
Yep. So just for our listeners out there, you have 800. I guess let's use 1,000. That's a nice big number. You have 1,000. Like you want a new kitchen, you want to gut the bathroom. We're doing everything that's not what I would consider mechanical, right? We're not touching plumbing, we're not touching electric. You're looking about 40 G's or whatever, 40 to 60 G's for that unit.
Yeah. And that's always going to depend on like how many baths do you have? How big is the kitchen, right? Those are the 2 big ticket items that really change that number the most. And then what type of finishes are you going to have, right? Do you have granite? Do you have quartz? Those finish levels really dictate the kind of variability in the price.
So
Yep,
if
that'll
you have
sense.
a three flat and I'm going to write it. I went to see it. It's perfect. It needs, it's outdated. I know if I quote unquote do a cosmetic rehab, I could maybe get another $400 or $500 per unit per month out of it. And I'm going to be looking at anywhere between call it 80 and 120,000 to get those up to speed to get that rent bump.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good round number, assuming we're kind of doing everything in front of the walls. And yeah, like the end goal there is you're looking to maximize your ROI and kind of clean up the unit as much as possible.
Yep. Keep in mind where people get stuck on this too is the rule of square foot, price per square foot. It's a nice starting point or indicator, but it's not. It's obviously flawed for a lot of reasons, and one of them just being like unit size, right? A unit that is 600 square feet and a unit that's 1,000 square feet. the unit that's 600 square feet is not going to be 60% of the cost of a 1,000 square foot unit if you're doing a bed and bath in each of them, because those are the biggest drivers, right?
Yeah.
Like that. So that price per square foot gets messed with pretty quickly. Just, but it is, again, just, I'm throwing that out as a caveat, but just, it's a good starting point. Don't take it as the Bible here.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think that's why people get really confused on the pricing of the ADUs, right? You have such a small area, but you have all the same mechanical, electrical, plumbing, electrical service, kitchen, bath in a 700 square foot area, and you need all of those high ticket items.
Yeah. And it's blowing you out of the water.
To that same point, that's why I always tell people to run their numbers to duplex down versus adding another unit, because when you duplex down, typically you're not putting in an additional kitchen. You're not doing all the same stuff that you'd have to do for an individual unit when you do that way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
All right. And then what's our third bucket here?
Yeah, so third bucket, full renovation. So that's, like we said earlier, everything in front of the walls and everything behind the walls. So we're talking about getting rid of the old galvanized, putting in new copper, running new conduit, adding new panels, and adding any ductwork furnaces that you want to, getting rid of the boilers. And a rough idea for that is in like the $90 to $120 a square foot, roughly. So you can think 100 grand if you're doing everything behind the walls. And some of the big ticket items that people forget about, which is why that cost is so high, is one, the water service. Here in the city of Chicago, almost anytime we're doing a bigger renovation, the city is requiring us to upgrade that water service, typically to 1.5 inches if you're up to 4 units, more or less. So yeah, those items really kind of make that ticket price quite a bit higher pretty quickly.
And just so it's clear, the water service at 1.5 inches, that's basically the size of the pipe that comes from the curb into the building is typically how big is it in the old way, and you got to update it to be as large as 1.5.
Yeah, so a lot of the old buildings that we see are either at 3/4 or an inch, and then you need to upgrade it to 1.5 inches coming in. And so, like, even more recently, we've had numerous plans get approved by the city without indicating a water service needs to be upgraded. And then when inspectors come on site, they're actually verifying the size of those pipes coming in and are requiring an upgrade. So it's just a huge ticket item to come up as a change order really quick.
Yeah, and in the city, you can't jet in the line. So I know some people in the burbs might be like, oh, I can get water service done for 12 grand or whatever. It's going to be a full 25 here. Like, you need your CDOT permit, you need the tapping permit. You're the one doing the paving. Like, it's going to be a big item. Like, you were doing the whole shebang front to back, and there's really no way around it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, the permit and the degradation fees alone are just insanely expensive, right? The city made a huge push to update all the lead services, and they're taking every chance they get for anyone who's doing a rehab for the homeowners and investors like us to cover those costs.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple other things I'll mention too is when you're looking at these, are you on a boiler versus HVAC? The cost to install HVAC, it's gone exponential for the last, call it 4 or 5 years. I used to pay like 8 grand a unit. I think all in now it's like 14. And when I say all in, I mean running the ductwork and then doing the
Drywall.
framing and drywall and paint around that too. Then, like, that number is almost doubled, I feel. You gotta do that for each unit. And then you have the condenser for each unit. You look at windows, right? How many windows are there? Are they the old wood pulley that you got to replace? Are you leaving them? Again, that can be a big driver. And then all the other, call it CapEx, the masonry, the roof, all those things. Those are big drivers that if you only have 3 units, it's going to bump your price per unit exponentially.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing with the full renovation, right? Cosmetic, you're adding that ROI. With the full renovation, you're eliminating a lot of those CapEx, capital expenditure costs down the road. So I'm always a big proponent of doing more now, in the idea that you're going to be saving more down the road.
Well, let's break this down too, though, real fast, because if you have to do a full reno, you should be getting a fairly discounted purchase price. So I think a lot of the urgent got to figure this out right now will be less of those. But keep that in mind. You better be making sure if you're going to put 120 grand into each unit, you better be getting it at the right price. And as you go up in your buckets, your unit turns, the smallest of the repair numbers, those are going to be times where you're going to be paying closer to market rate pricing.
Yeah. Cool. Jonathan, before we wrap here, anything else you might want to add?
No, I don't have anything, Tom. We're happy to, deliver on all those service for any potential awesome clients out there. And yeah, we just want to continue to add value to the community and really appreciate what you guys are doing here and on the Bigger Pockets forum. So yeah, keep it up and thank you guys for your help.
Awesome. So we will link to all that in the show notes. And if people don't know Jonathan on Bigger Pockets, that they're not on enough, because I know you make it a point to get on there. So congrats on all the hustle there.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. Thanks, Mark.
So all right, Mark, Chicago Fact. Who are we playing for?
All right, we're playing for Rebecca Gaines. Rebecca, if myself or Jonathan get this right, you get $50 gift card brought to you by Quality Builders.
All right. So Mark, I thought of you because I took my kids to the library one of those rainy days, and I got the Tangled Web. I don't know if you read this or not, but it's about a corrupt Chicago cop who's also a mafia hitman. He worked under 𝗬𝗏𝗃, and he was eventually murdered. It's a great story. So anyone who's interested in this type of topic, go get it. What is the name of this corrupt cop that the book is about? Is it Richard Kane, Chucky Nicoletti, Tony Accardo, Sammy Battaglia?
Ah, come on, Kane. You got killed in Rosie's.
Man, you know so much more than I do. I'm finding this for the first time, and you had it. Good job.
Yeah, I read that book probably about 4 or 5 years ago. That guy, that Kane, I mean, there's always rumors that, he was part of the.
Dude, he's part of the JFK stuff. The Bay of
yeah,
Pigs,
like there's a lot of stuff that his name comes up in a lot of different stories. But yeah, no, he was definitely got killed over there. What's that, on Grand Avenue at Rosie's?
This was one of those books where like I started and I was like, oh, this is so good. Like I was in on this one.
I heard
So
that
anyone in the Chicago mob history, it's a goodie.
I heard that Scorsese is looking at potentially the Family Secrets story and
With
potentially
the outfit, yeah.
That'd be cool. So, all right, man, Jonathan, thanks for coming on. Rebecca, you get the $50 gift card brought to you by Jonathan and Quality Builders. So Jonathan, thanks for coming on again. Tom, thank you as always. Listeners, go straight up ChicagoInvestor.com. Actually, before you go there, leave us a review on iTunes, wherever you listen to. 5 stars, that helps us in rankings and helps us get more exposure to more people. But then go over to straightupchicagoinvestor.com and go to the Chicago meetup page. We talked about Jonathan with his networking on Bigger Pockets. We just updated and went through every single meetup we have on there. We got rid of a couple that aren't there. We added a couple new ones. Check it out. Make sure you're getting out there this summer and networking. Listeners,
we appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Jonathan. And listeners, we'll see you next week.
All right, thanks.
Thanks
y'all.
all.